world was ready for a Super Bowl rematch. But apparently, the Cowboys and Giants had other plans, like playing for last place in the division. That game went to overtime and only had 4 seconds left before they decided to have a winner. The game went so long, that I began to think the Cowboys and Giants were just doing this because Cowboys fans were mad that Micah Parsons went to another team. And I'm sorry, Jerry Jones, it's not our fault. Don't make us suffer with you. And do you know who we have to blame for missing, a very lackluster first quarter where no one scored any points, but as an Eagles fan, I really wanted to watch? Heidi, a film about an orphan girl that was based on a novel in 1880. Now, for the older generation, you guys probably already know, but for the younger generation, I'm going to break down why we had to sit through a dreck of a football game. Although Brandon Aubrey was really good by kicking a 64-yarder. Heidi, 1968. Despite what people think about the Raiders and the Jets, both teams were really good in the AFL and into the NFL. Raiders won a couple Super Bowls in the 70s, but I digress. With 42 seconds left in the game, the Oakland Raiders back then were up 36-32 after being down a score. The game had 31 incompletions and 19 penalties, so the game was going to go over 7 o'clock p.m. The station was notified that, the game's going to go over 7 o'clock. Move the movie back, but they just didn't communicate very well, and Heidi was shown in the last 42 seconds of a thriller were missed. And ever since then, the NFL has had a contract that says you have to show the entirety of the game through its conclusion. And now we got to witness the Cowboys and the Giants, although a very compelling game. It's for last place. Not going to have any playoff implications. And speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, are they in danger of losing their season? They're 0-2. The game was about to switch momentum when Travis Kelce dropped the ball into Makuba's hands, and the Eagles scored a touchdown. Was he daydreaming about Taylor Swift? I don't know. He's a little love-struck right now. He's probably lost a step or two. He is 35, 36 years old. The question is, will the Chiefs be able to get past this hump? 0-2 for the first time since 2014, and Patrick Mahomes has never started a season 0-2. My brain says yes. NFL history says otherwise because very few teams make it to the playoffs after 0-2, but it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And you never count out Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Now, if they go 0-3, 0-4, then we'll start questioning. But they do play a beatable Giants team on Sunday night. Although Russell Wilson did go off for 450 yards. Speaking of New York Giants former quarterbacks, Daniel Indiana Jones watch continues in a win against the Broncos, where he threw for over 300 yards and a touchdown. I'll tell you now, before signing him to a big contract, remember how that worked out for everybody involved in New York, except for maybe Saquon Barkley, who went on to win a Super Bowl. Very nice. Despite an up game from Bo Nix, the Broncos just couldn't get off the field and just couldn't get it done. While Spencer Schrader did miss a 60-yard field goal, the Denver Broncos rested their arms on the offensive lineman, and that was a leverage penalty, which I didn't even know existed. I know you can't jump over the offensive line on a kick, but didn't know you couldn't just rest all over them to try to block a kick. Whatever. That turned into a 45-yard field goal attempt, and Schrader hit it 29-28. Indianapolis Colts win, and Denver Broncos are now third in the division at 1-1. Here's a little joke for you. Do horses have toes? May I say, and you know who else has toe problems? Joe Burrow has turf toe. He's going to be out for 3 months. I didn't even know that was a torn ligament in your toe. I really didn't know that that's what it was. I didn't know like the medical specifics, but turf toe, you basically tore his toe. And fortunately for them, they have Browning, who can throw you 3 interceptions, but also give you 3 touchdowns and a win against a Jacksonville Jaguars team that will be competing for a first-round, #1 overall pick like they always do every year for the last decade, except for maybe 1 year when they went toe-to-toe with Tom Brady in the AFC Championship. Jamar Chase went for 165 yards and a touchdown. The Bengals start 2-0. The Bengals start 2-0, but we don't know how long that can hold up. Will the Bengals make the playoffs? Maybe they eke by. Maybe this 2-0 start actually shows, well, maybe they're that good. Detroit showed that they can at least drop some points on the Bears, 52 to be exact. And my dreams of a Jared Goff MVP are still hanging on by a thread for now. It was the Bears, who haven't fielded a great team since 1985, but when you are the Detroit Lions and you were in the doldrums for so long, you're running full force, even if you're running straight into Micah Parsons later on. Seattle beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that, despite having TJ Watt and Jalen Ramsey, just can't play any defense. They're allowing a lot of points. Sam Darnold wasn't really that great, but at least with a win, the Seahawks fans could say, hey, maybe we'll get a return on this guy. And Aaron Rodgers looked like, well, Jets Aaron Rodgers, who threw a lot of interceptions. Is it too early for people to say JJ McCarthy is just not the answer? I know he has a high ankle sprain. He's going to be out a few weeks. Despite an upgraded offensive line, a beautiful comeback against the Bears, he just seems to either put the ball on the floor, throw an interception, or throw a touchdown. There's no like in between with this guy. What is he going to be? A lot of people are saying, oh, he's not good. Well, online, but we know people online that don't have the most rational way of expressing themselves, I guess. But I'm not saying he's going to be Fran Tarkenton, but he's also not Christian Ponder. Give the kid some time. I know he's going to be out a few weeks, but I think he'll be okay. Time will tell if he's any good, but the NFL needs to be a lot better at picking their primetime games. I mean, Falcons versus Vikings, where half the game was just field goals, is not something that people want to watch. But it turned out to be a blowout. Bijan Robinson went over 100 yards, I'm going to say. Falcons win. And sorry, Cardinals fans, beating the Panthers just doesn't make you contenders yet. Rams beat the Titans. Cam Ward still doesn't have anybody to throw to, but he did throw a touchdown. Matthew Stafford looked pretty good. The defense harassed Cam Ward again, like everybody else is going to do for the rest of the season, because the Titans are, well, the Titans. San Francisco, Christian McCaffrey's been carrying the team pretty good. They won also. But the Buccaneers and the Chargers definitely are contenders. At least the Buccaneers think they are. Bucky Irvin and Rachaad White were instrumental to the Bucs winning. Mayfield came up hobbled on a scramble, and the Texans don't have an offensive line to speak of. Speaking of which, did they trot Ray Charles out there, or was that Geno Smith? Because the guy threw 3 interceptions and couldn't read doubled coverage if it was written in Braille. Now, the Chargers are a really good defense. #1 last year. Herbert's been really good, 200-plus yards and a couple touchdowns. The running game still isn't there for the Chargers, but the Raiders, despite their defensive greatness, just wet the bed offensively. They don't get the run going. Geno Smith is terrible. I want them to succeed because I grew up in the area, and that's all that was on TV. It was either the Niners or the Raiders on TV. So, you got to kind of just say, like, oh, go Bay Area teams, I guess. But they're just destined to be bad for another 20 years, aren't they? Injury news, Jaden Daniels is hobbled. J.J. McCarthy's hobbled. Joe Burrow's out for 3 months. A few other players that I forgot to write down, they're injured. But we'll talk more about that on Wednesday night when I do a stream. But again, what do you guys think? Who are contenders? Who are pretenders? And who do you think is the team to beat in the AFC West? This is the weekly recap. This is Hilltime Sports. I am about 7 subscribers away from 100, and it'll be a great milestone. If you like the coverage, like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell. And this is Hilltime Sports. Adios.